Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Cisco Optics Podcast, where we talk about pluggable optics for networks. Single-mode fiber transformed telecommunications in the 1970s and 1980s by raising the ceiling for communication bandwidth over transoceanic distances. It took years of R&D to get there, though. Remember, we're sending light through tens of kilometers of glass without regeneration. I mean, imagine how pure the glass of an 80-kilometer thick window needs to be in order to see through it. This is episode 49, and we continue our conversation with Roisin McCool, expert in fiber networks for telecommunications and scientific instrumentation at Corning Optical Communications. We get into mechanical considerations and the quality architecture of fiber manufacturing. Roisin McCool is a senior market and technology development manager for Corning Optical Fiber and Cable, specializing in single-mode fiber and access networks. She provides technical and market insight for Corning's global fiber and cable product line management teams. Roisin has 30 years of experience in engineering and optical communications systems and subsystems, including many years designing networks for advanced radio telescopes. Roisin has held project management and coordination lead roles in diverse teams throughout her career. Roisin is the acting chair of the Women in Fiber Committee for the FTTH Council Europe and is the winner of the Corning Optical Communications You Make a Difference Award 2022 for her leadership of diversity initiatives in Corning. Roisin holds a master's degree in electrical and electronic engineering from the University of Nottingham, United Kingdom, and is a chartered member of the Institute of Engineering and Technology. And now join me as I talk with Roisin McCool. Do you know if people are working on like any mechanical issues, just like mechanical? I don't know what to call it, resilience or stability.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things to say. One of the really impressive things about Corning, once you get under the hood, one of the really impressive things is the quality architectures. It sounds somewhat dull, right? The quality architectures. However,
Wait, sorry, what do you mean by quality architecture?
So the quality architectures are the architectures within manufacture that mean that when a fiber rolls off out of a Corning factory on a Corning reel, that what those measurements say on the reel is what that fiber is, right? And if you buy 10 of those reels, they're all going to have the same fiber. They're going to operate in the same way, and you can rely on that.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's enormously impressive. You know, in 2017, Corning delivered its 1 billion fiber kilometer. Right?
Billion?
1 billion fiber kilometers.
A billion fiber, sorry, 1 billion what?
Fiber kilometers.
Kilometers?
Yeah.
Billion.
Now imagine delivering 1 billion fiber kilometers of high quality fiber in which the measurements that are specified on that fiber can always be relied upon. That needs that's a tremendous effort in quality architecture. And there's a massive difference between a sort of lab experiment, a new fiber that is very exciting and interesting. There's a step to be taken from that discovery to something that you can load a factory with and guarantee that the specified characteristics will always be the same for the next billion kilometers of fiber. So that's something that has to be considered in all of these brand new fibers, is that there's a tremendous effort by fiber manufacturers, and I mean not just Corning, but fiber manufacturers, to make sure that those fibers are consistent and have quality and yields that the industry demands, because nobody wants a fiber that says it's this, says it's a 0.16 dBs of loss at 1550, only to discover once it's installed that it's actually 0.5 or something like that.
Right, because once it's installed, you don't want to
Yeah.
uninstall
Yeah,
it, right?
exactly.
Okay, I see what you mean now by it being incredibly important, but maybe not the most glamorous thing that people think of.
It's so important. I mean,
But
so
again, another
important.
very practical consideration that's just absolutely essential, just like the connectivity
Yeah.
that you brought up.
Yeah. I mean,
For the
it's
multi-core.
sort of, for it's like a swan, right? All that stuff is going on underneath the water that people don't see, but it's absolutely essential to the quality of the product. And so we've been so successful at it that it's almost not considered now, that you can just rely on the fact if you buy a fiber, it will do what it says.
So you did too good a job, and now we all take it for granted, basically.
If any of my colleagues are listening to this, I don't know whether they'll thank me for that statement.
No, you're bringing it to light to remind us of all the hard work that went into that.
Yeah. Hey, one of the things that
any other future fibers that come to mind?
Yes. So there are a couple. So the other fiber, which is about density of connections, is a fiber called a reduced clad fiber. So we've talked a couple of times about the cladding of the fiber is 125 micron, right? Mm. And that's been true for a very long time. But if you were to reduce that outer diameter of that cladding, what would happen? Well, the fiber would get smaller. And so one of the things that the industry is looking at, and this is, fiber manufacturers in general, is this idea of making an even smaller fiber. So the SMF28 contour that we talked about as a platform for density in cables, that's a 190 micron fiber. What happens if you could get even smaller? And how do you do that? Well, you do that in one or two ways. The first way is to reduce the cladding outer diameter down to, say, 100 microns, so you're reducing the fiber even more. The other way is to reduce the coating even further.
So when we were talking about density before, you were talking about reduced diameter. Was that the coating diameter that you were referring to in the earlier case? Yes. So still 125 cladding.
So the cladding, yes. The cladding remains exactly the same, but in the next generation of low OD, very low OD fibers, how do you get even lower? So you could go even lower on coating diameter, or reduce the cladding size and reduce the OD that way. And in fact, there are some specialty fibers available today. They're mainly used in sort of electronics, so the sort of not quite co-packaged optics, but the generation before that, to get just like as much fiber onto the front plate of some electronic equipment as possible.
And also, I used to do some work with fiber optic gyros. Didn't they used to make, they have to make a big spool, a couple kilometers for these navigation applications. I remember there was like an 80 micron cladding.
Yes, that's it.
Something.
And they are used in those sort of speciality applications. Okay. So there's some interest in that, and there's been various fiber manufacturers that have proposed that as a concept. But I guess the one you're waiting for is the hollow core fiber. That's kind of the really
I did have that in mind.
Sexy fiber that's
because you mentioned latency before, and I was going to bring it up, but then I thought, okay, I'll just wait.
Yeah. So the speed of light in air is 3 times 10 to the 8 meters per second. the speed of light in fiber is 2 times 10 to the 8 meters per second. And that's because the silica core of the fiber is actually a denser medium than air. And it's actually, these aren't recent inventions. The concept of a hollow core fiber has been around for, I think, at least a decade. But very recently, there's been developments around anti-resonant hollow core fiber, which is a fiber which essentially guides the light through air within a glass structure. And that means that the light can go faster, and that means that the latency, or the time it takes to get from end to end on the fiber, is less. And so that has attracted an awful lot of attention. And of course, it's been in the news recently that Microsoft has recently purchased Luminicity, who were the big proponents of this anti-resonant fiber type.
Okay, I have 2 questions. One is who is interested in this? That was the 6th part of my conversation with Roisin McCool. Next time, we'll get into latency and low-loss fibers. Hey, we have a new website. It's optics.podcastpage.io. That's optics.podcastpage.io. You can either listen there or use the same podcast platform you've been using all along. Please subscribe. Better yet, leave a review, especially if you use Apple Podcasts. Remember, we're part of the Cisco Podcast Network, where you can find other great Cisco podcasts too. We also have educational videos on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com and search on Cisco Optics. Thank you for listening. This is Pat Chow, Product Manager at Cisco Optics. The next episode is part 7 of my conversation with Roisin McCool. Until next time.